welcome to the UTRGV Remote Training Series, the fall series brought to you by UTRGV Center for Sustainable Agriculture and Rural Advancement. My name is Colin Kane. I'm the director of the Texas Rural Cooperative Center here at UTRGV. Today, we're going to have a really great presentation by Cruz Salinas on building mini tunnels for protecting plants, fruits and vegetables grown in ground, and I think in raised beds as well. And this great event is brought to you by the UTRGV Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Project and the Texas Rural Cooperative Center. For details on those specific projects, we're going to provide a little bit more detail. Juan's going to talk about BFRDP in a bit, but please check us out on Facebook. This presentation and all of our UTRGV SADA presentations live on our YouTube page. So go onto YouTube and look up UTRGV SADA. Like and subscribe, go to our channel, and there is a particular group of videos for our seasonal remote training series, and this presentation will live there. So I would like to introduce the one and only Juan Raygosa, who is the director of the UTRGV Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Project, who's going to talk a little bit about this event and about our presenter today. Juan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Colin. I would like to share a little bit about our Beginning Farmers and Ranchers program. We're funded by USDA, and we provide technical assistance in a wide variety of topics to help new farmers and ranchers to get started in the easiest way possible. So please reach out to us if you need any support. Currently, we're serving South, Central, and West Texas with the support of our partnering organizations, NCAT, Texas-Mexico Border Coalition, and La Semilla Food Center. So please reach out if you need any support from us. And now I'm pleased to introduce our colleague and great asset, Mr. Cruz Salinas. So I have his bio here. Cruz is an agricultural specialist for UTRGV Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. He's been with UTRGV since 2012, where he has helped small-scale farmers with specialty crop production, high tunnel construction, grape grafting, drip irrigation systems, raised bed construction, among other topics. Cruz also owns and manages Salinas Family Farm, where he and his wife specialize on tomato, strawberry, and asparagus production. Previously, Cruz worked as a migrant farm worker till he was 17 years old, and he worked for 30 years in the agricultural equipment industry in the RGV. He's been here at the university for 9 years, and he worked also for 7 years at the USDA Kika de la Garza Research Center. So he's got a lot of experience. He's a farmer, and he is a great asset, like I mentioned before. So please reach out to us and anything we can help you out. And now I'm gonna give the time to Cruz. So Cruz, please take it away.
Hello, this is Cruz Salinas with UTRGV under Sustainable Agricultural for Rural Advancement, otherwise known as SADA. In this next video, we're going to feature building a 4x10 low tunnel. The reason I'm standing beside this 20 by 68 high tunnel is we took a lot of features from this unit and used them on our low tunnel. Our low tunnel will be constructed with 3/4 EMT pipe as the main frame, and the roll-ups will be using 3/4 PVC pipe. We'll be using 3 different types of covers. We'll have the insect cloth cover, we'll have the shade cloth cover, and we'll have the plastic cover. So for now, follow me so that we can start construction on this low tunnel. Let's begin bending our hoops. We're going to bend them with this simple tool. It's the model number LT4. I ordered it online. The company is called the Original Hoop Bender. It's pretty simple operation. First we have to set it up. I use this 4x8 table. We'll install the bending tube with number 10 by 3 screws. That's nice and snug, keep it in place. We're going to mark the center of the bending tool because we'll need that marks when we start bending our hoops. Next, we're going to mark our pipes according to the specifications on your low tunnel that you're building. Each one has their own measurements. For this particular size, 4 foot wide, our first mark is at 21 inches. Before I go to the next mark, I'm going to go ahead and mark the center of this pipe, which is at 5 feet. This is a 10 foot tube, because that mark that's in this tube, the center tube, will match this mark that's on the bending tube. Then we're going to go ahead and measure and mark every 8 inches. All the way up to your center mark on your tube. I'm going to mark the lines all the way across because when I install this tube in the bending tool, I'm able to see the marks a lot better when I install it in the bending tube. Now I'm going to repeat the marks on the opposite end coming towards the center. And these don't have to be absolutely perfect. Let's take our pipe now and insert it into our hoop bender. We're going to insert it all the way to our first mark, which was at 21 inches. We're going to bend our pipe up to about 2 inches away from the end of the bender. Go to your next mark. And if you notice, after that last bend, our center marks are touching, so that finalizes the bending of the first half. Now we're going to remove the pipe. Flip it over. Insert it into the holder to our 21-inch mark. And here we need to pay extra careful attention that our tube remains level while we are bending. Just bend tube. Okay, now let's slip it to our next 8-inch mark. Bend the tube. You notice, after that bend, our center marks are touching. That completes the bending. Remove the hoop. And we have our 4 foot hoop. Repeat the process 3 more times. This 4x10 low tunnel requires a total of 4 hoops. Now that we've finished the hoops, we've set them aside for right now, and we're going to start building our bottom frame. For that, what is required is 2 3/4 inch EMT galvanized pipes, 2 4 foot EMT 3/4 inch pipes. We're going to use 4 T's 4 corners. Some of the tools required is going to be a square, of course our drill, some number 10 by 1 Tek screws, and some type of marker. Let's begin assembling our bottom frame. To make things easier, what I'm going to do, since I know we have a straight line here, I'm going to make a mark so that I can lay my first pipe more or less where I want it to go. We're going to lay out these pieces before we actually put them together. We have a straight line there. We're going to take our first 10-foot pipe and lay it right there, just more or less. From that 12-inch mark, let's do a 4-foot mark. And this is just a more or less. We're going to square this up here in just a little bit. We're going to lay our second 10-foot pipe. Our 4-foot pipe on the rear. And our 4-foot pipe in the front. At this point, I'd like to establish that that's going to be the front of our 4x10 low tunnel. Now, we'll set out our pipe fittings. If you notice, the corners have 3 welded pipes. 2 pipes are 5 inches in length and 1 is 6. In your final assembly, your 6-inch pipe will be facing up. So we'll put those right now accordingly. Now we have our T's. After these are screwed in with our Tek screws, the long end is going to be facing up. But for the moment, we'll just lay them where they go. As we determined earlier, this is going to be the front of our low tunnel. So let's begin by assembling the right-hand side bottom frame. We're going to begin by making a mark at 40 inches and 80 inches. And the reason for this is where our T's are going to be screwed down. Once we have that marked, we'll take our first T, slip it all the way to our 80-inch mark. We'll take our second T, slip it all the way to the 40-inch mark, and that'll be centered. We're going to take our first corner. Remember, we have this as the 6-inch going to the top, but at this point, in order to screw it and square it, we're going to lay it down on its side. Then we're going to do the same thing with the rear corner. Now we're going to screw the corners and T's with our number 10 Tek screws. One more time, make absolutely positively sure that your corner is all the way bottomed out. Make sure it's all the way in. That completes one side. Now let's do the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and lift both of them facing up. Put them in the marks more or less where they need to be. And let's install the rear pipe since we're here already. Make sure they're nice and snug. Put them more or less on that mark that we laid out earlier. Let's go to the front. Slip that one in there. Slip that one in there. Put it more or less where we had our marks. Well, we're pretty much there, so that's good. Now let's assemble the front and the rear together. And our bottom frame is complete. Now let's start installing our hoops. We'll start at the front. We'll insert it into the 6-inch and we'll do the same for the next 3 hoops. And now we will attach the hoops to the bottom frame with Tek screws. Our next step is installing the hat channel, and we'll be using the center mark that we used when we bent the hoops earlier. We're going to go ahead and screw both ends and centers on the hoops. But later on we will be removing both front and rear ends so that we can install the side channels. And now we'll be installing the wiggle wire channel on the top ridge of the hat channel. there we have it. And now we'll be installing the front wiggle wire channel and both sides, right and left, of the wiggle wire channel. We'll be doing it for the front section, for the front hoop and the rear hoop. To make things a little bit easier, I'm going to elevate this frame up in the air just a little bit. All wiggle wire channel comes straight 10-foot lengths. To install on curved areas, we have to bend it ourselves. We'll be removing the screw that I mentioned earlier in order to attach this channel to the side of this hoop. All we'll be doing is applying down pressure to the channel till it touches the hoop. Make sure you go down right the center of both of them. We'll repeat the same process with our front left hand and our rear right and left hand also. And now we'll be installing the front and the rear plastic. Now this will be installed with wiggle wire on the wiggle wire channel because this is going to be permanent. This won't be removed at any point in time. And I would like to start on the bottom, that way I can stretch it and fix it where it needs to be. Then we'll do the sides, but in order for me to start at the bottom, I need to hold this up. So I'm going to temporarily hold it up with an actual piece of wiggle wire, and this, I'll just wiggle it just a couple of times just so that I can hold it in place. The wind's pretty strong right now, so I don't want to be battling with that. We'll take our wiggle wire and I set these up a while ago for the sake of time, and I went ahead and marked them where they're supposed to go. But this initial piece was a 5-foot by 5-foot square piece of plastic, and I installed it and then I trimmed it. So I know that this is the center mark that I want for this plastic, and I know that it's going to end and begin here. So we'll start right there, and the way this wiggle wire works is you take the black end first, you insert it into the channel, and then you just wiggle it up and down. And while you're doing that, you're stretching your plastic. While you are installing the wire. And like I said, I marked this here so I know it's my center, so I have no problems as far as it being where it's supposed to be. At this point, the only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stretch it out. When we get to the end, we'll be cutting this right here with some cutters. Just go in there and cut it. And my fingers aren't what they used to be, so basically is what I take my knife. My knife has a little groove right there, and I just get that, slip it in there, and slip the wire inside. Really neat, really works. Okay, now we're going to do the top. We'll just go ahead and remove this, which was on here temporarily. Now we really want to put this on there tight. We're going to bring this up. We're going to insert black end of the wiggle wire and start wiggling it in. As we're going, we'll tighten it up. And we're done. Now we'll do the other side. We're going to do the exact same thing on the rear portion of our low tunnel. And now let's install our insect cloth. Our insect cloth is going to be our first cover of 3, and in reality all 3 are going to be installed the exact same way. First we'll start by laying an 11-foot piece of 3/4 PVC pipe on each side. We're going to take our insect cloth, and this is designed so that of course the insects don't penetrate into your hoop house. It's got a real nice fine mesh to it. We're going to saddle it up in there. We're going to find the center. In this case, I was lucky enough that this piece is a 12-foot wide by 12 in length, and it had the center red line in it already, so I know that is the center of my cloth. Once we have it saddled and centered, we want to start wiggle wiring it. Since our tunnel house is 10 feet in length, this piece of cloth was 12. I went ahead and cut it down to 11. I'm going to have 8 inches in the front overlapping and 4 inches in the rear. And the reason for that is when we do close it down, I want to make sure that it seals. We'll start right here. And we're going to wiggle wire just as we did the sides. This wiggle wire channel is designed for applying 2 types of covers, be it plastic or be it insect cloth, without a problem. We'll be applying 3. So just a little trick that I learned to make it easy when we are installing the 3rd layer is going in here and pressing your wire all the way to the bottom. This one was all the way to the bottom. That's one technique that I learned when installing, so that I don't have to do this. But if you're having problems in installing your 3rd wiggle wire. That's one of the reasons that, or problems that you might run into where you can't get it in there. Just press the wire on down and you should be in good shape. Next step is placing the hold down clamps onto your edge of your cover. Basically you just open up the clamps, put your cover on there, slip the hold on clamp over it, put a screw in it just to hold it in place. But sometimes you're by yourself, the wind's blowing kind of strong, you don't know if you're going in a straight line. So I learned this little trick by stapling the material to the PVC pipe. It holds a little bit better and makes the application a little bit easier. Now we'll install the hold down clamps, and basically they all need to be in the same position. You use this as a guide. You put the bottom part of the cloth with the bottom part there, slip it over, and that's how you want to install all of them. Now you don't have to do this, but I do because I really want them to hold in place just in case that wind picks up and they really start flapping. This way this holder won't come off. And you can put them every 20 inches. Now we're going to install the T's here, and this is what's going to hold up the cover here. But I ran out of glue, and I'm going to go ahead and screw this in place temporarily. I guess it'll be permanently, to keep these from rotating. We'll be installing one on each side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is roll up our insect cloth, and we want to roll it to where we roll it to the inside. That way when it's open, and if you roll it like this, you get debris and rain and water to come in here, your mold collects up in there. But if you roll it to the inside, then it just literally rolls off. And the way we're going to roll this up is just come in here and just twist this. This would probably be better if we had two individuals, but I'm going to try to do it by myself here just for the first setup before we apply the straps. We're kind of in luck right now that the wind ain't blowing 100 miles an hour, so we might be able to do this without any problems. There we go. Now we'll roll up the other one. There we go. The way we're going to hold these together simply is just by tying the string through the T's. Don't try a knot, just put a bow on it, and that should be sufficient. Now we're going to install the plastic, and it's basically going to be the same. Now, for the sake of time, I went ahead and rolled it up, laid it on top, and I'm going to wiggle wire it right down the center on top of the insect cloth. I'm going to tie these together, that way it won't fall on me. Now, since we have one wiggle wire in there already, when you apply the second one, if you notice the zigzag, it comes this way, then that way, then this way. You just want to enter the opposite of what you have in there. And the bottom one's coming this way, so we want the top one to go that way. That way it falls into groove a lot easier. And now we're going to install 3 11-foot pieces of 1/2-inch poly. We're going to set these in between each hoop. And basically what these do is they hold down your covers when your covers are rolled down. When the wind is blowing, they keep them from flapping, tearing up. So we'll install those with Tek screws screwed to the bottom of the low tunnel. And there we have it. Our unit is complete. We have 3 types of covers. We have our shade cloth cover, 50% shade. We have our plastic cover, and we have our insect cover. Now what's really neat about this system is that you're able to roll down all 3 if you want at one time. You're able to roll down just one, any one you want, or a combination of 2. So, I mean, the combinations are unlimited as far as what you're trying to protect against, whether it's rain, whether it's insects, or whether you want shade from the sun. This low tunnel is designed where you can just plant straight in ground, just lay it over your plot, or you can just slip it over a raised bed. With the plastic rolled down, of course, you can protect your crop from the elements, rain, some freezes, some cold nights. With the shade cloth, of course, you can protect it from the extensive heat of the sun. With the insect cloth, you can protect your vegetables from all sorts of insects. The material suppliers for this project were Lost Creek Greenhouse. We purchased the hoop bender, the metal tees, and the metal corners from them. We purchased materials from Lowe's, which was the PVC pipe, the PVC 3/4 tees, the EMT pipe, the self-topping screws. And from CUNY Bonded, we purchased the plastic cover, the insect screen, the shade cloth, the wiggle wire channel and wiggle wire, the hat channel, and the 1/2-inch black tube. Thank you everyone for watching this video. You can reach me at cruz.salinas@utrgv.edu. For the next few minutes, we will be answering some of your questions. Thanks again.
All right. That was great. Thank you, Cruz. That was fantastic. And I also have to applaud. I think so we're here on campus at UTRGV. I think you ran out to Lyford and did that live and then just ran back to Edinburgh to be back with us, which is incredible. You broke some kind of record. So I have to congratulate you on that. But that was an amazing video. That was very, very informative, and it was very, very hands-on. But Cruz, before we get started, just out of curiosity, for you right now, what crops are you using that mini tunnel for mostly?
Well, actually, oddly enough, Colin, you can use them for any crop that's grown on the outside, and that's what's really neat about it. Of course, you're limited to the height, but even with this high tunnel, it's almost 4 feet, so you're able to grow a good size tomato plant in there.
So tomatoes definitely seem to be one of them. So the crops that are a little bit more sensitive to the elements, to wind, to dust or dirt, and to rain, and to cold, of course, or tomatoes, of course, we've got down in South Texas, we have whitefly issues, right? So all of those reasons could be, that could be the reason why you would actually use the mini tunnel for tomatoes, for example.
Definitely. There's every crop that can be grown here in the Rio Grande Valley can be grown inside that tunnel.
Right. And is that a mobile unit? Are you moving it around from sort of crop to crop as needed?
Actually, I'm able to carry it by myself. Of course, it'd be easier with 2 persons, but yes, it's very mobile, especially if you're not wanting to plant in the same place every single time, or when you get ready to till up your either your raised bed or that area. All you do is just pick it up, move it over to the side, till your area, and put it back.
That's awesome. So we have some questions coming in here from our attendees. First, from Angela Chandler. Shout out to Angela Chandler. You were the first person to ask a question in the Q&A function. Thank you very much. And this is about suppliers. And you listed, I think, a website where you got the actual pipe bender. And I think that was a general question of where are you getting some of this equipment? So we're here in South Texas. So some of our suppliers are going to be local, some of them are going to be national, like mail order and stuff. But the specific question from Angela is where are you getting, she calls them the EMT fittings. Where are you finding those?
Okay, actually, the EMT is established nationwide for electrical pipes. So you can purchase them just about at any pipe supplier. You have your Lowe's, your Central Plumbing. So I mean, it's not a hard item to find locally.
Okay.
But the only thing that you would have to purchase online would be the bending tool. All the others you could purchase locally at nursery or something like that.
Okay, so locally, I mean, we could talk about the Valley in general, and just so everyone knows, we're not promoting individual businesses. We're just talking about where are these items actually available if you want to go out and actually build something like this. So in the Valley, I mean, there are the sort of big box places. There's Lowe's, there's Home Depots, where a lot of this is going to be available. But then, like you said, there's just local nurseries, depending on if you're in Cameron County or Willacy or Stark County or Hidalgo, right?
That's correct. And of course, online, 100% of these items could be ordered online. Of course, you wouldn't want to be ordering the EMT pipe or this PVC pipe, stuff like that online, because of freight.
Right.
But all those other fittings, if you don't really want to go out and purchase, you can get them online.
Right. We have questions along the same lines. We have from Melinda Goodman and from Kati Resto. What type of budget are you talking about for, at least from our local costs here in South Texas? How much would that cost just material wise?
The size of this particular unit was not that expensive overall. I ended up spending $250 for all the materials. Where the prices may vary is when you purchase either the plastics or the screens, because you may not have that particular size that you're looking for. And of course, this is a 4x10, but right. I mean, you can build it either larger or smaller, and that's what's really neat about this system, that you're able to either increase or lower the size of it. So of course, your cost would be either higher or lower, all depending on the size.
Right. And then I'm personally curious. I know that, Cruz, you are extremely handy, and you're a real expert on hoop construction, hoop house construction, be it a large hoop house or mini. Approximately how long would it take you, once you have all your supplies and your equipment, how long would it take you to actually build that?
Well, actually, this video was shot by Israel Galindo, and the total video time sequence was, I believe, 3 hours. And that was stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. We did have a lot of traffic while we were shooting video outside, so we had to, just stop and wait while the traffic passed. But
I heard that there was a Harley go by or something like that. That was kind of fun.
yes, but you're right. I do have a lot of experience. I've built over 17 tunnel houses through the program with the university with beginning farmers and ranchers. So I'm pretty handy in doing it. But I mean, it would probably take me 2 hours to assemble it. It's pretty easy stuff. It's pretty common stuff for me.
That's amazing.
For the beginner, I would probably say it would, they would knock out a full day building it, because there are some stuff that you have to cut. Some of the 8-foot pipes, you might have to cut them into 4-foot unless you cut them already in 4-foot. So that takes time.
Right. We have another question from Christine DeMeo. This is about so if you're in really windy conditions, and it gets pretty windy out in Willacy, out in Cameron, here in Hidalgo, are you securing the frame to the ground to prevent it from blowing around?
Yes, you can. It's just as simple as making some J stakes and driving them into the ground over the bottom pipe hoop. So I mean, it's a very simple outfit. Or you can just tie a rope around them and drive some stakes in the ground right there where the pipes are and hold it down. But yes, you will definitely need something to hold it down here in the Rio Grande Valley. Our winds are just horrible.
So for you and for other growers that are, because I mean, we're here in South Texas and we focus predominantly on the Rio Grande Valley, but South Texas in general, if we have backyard gardeners and we have small scale commercial producers, what are the crops where you feel like, in terms of the return on investment of time and the financial investment in building one of these and using it, what are the types of crops that people are going to want to say, okay, I'm growing, I mean, in your case, strawberries. Would that be a good, like an important crop to have this level of protection for?
Well, for the small grower, all that time and investment that you put on, growing your fruit crops, of course, I mean, the end results would be that you did have a crop at the end, because of course a freeze could come and wipe you out. The white fly could come and wipe you out, and so forth and so on. But if you're taking, for the commercial guy, if you're going to market with your product, I mean, this is, in simple math, this is a 10 by 4. So 10 by 4, you have 40 square feet. That means you could literally put, if you're doing square foot gardening, you could literally put 8 times 4 is 32. You could put in 32, let's say, broccoli plants. That would be 32 heads of broccoli that you could take to farmers market at $3 a piece. I mean, you're looking close to $100 on that particular crop, which down here in South Texas, if you did an early crop, say you planted in September, you would be done in 2.5 months. So you could literally put in 2, maybe possibly 3 crops in one season, and do the math. That's $300 just in broccoli, taking to farmers market off one unit.
So that's in terms of return on investment, which is a lot of times when I'm thinking about farming, a lot of times it's numbers wise. Return on investment, you talked about $250 just materials, not time, and then $300 in terms of local direct market pricing. It pays off within one market season, and this is going to be reused over multiple seasons, right?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, this thing should last, the material wise. I mean, minimal. The plastic, it would be the only thing you might have to replace, but that would last approximately 5 to 7 years. I mean, that's what it lasts on a tunnel house. And I use the same type of plastic for this unit as I do on the tunnel house. So, I mean, and the pipe, of course, would last, quite a bit longer than that.
That's interesting. Juan, I'd like to get you involved in this as well. And because we end up working with a lot of local growers that are making decisions to actually build hoop houses. I think what's really cool is that this brings a lot of the benefit of the larger hoop house on a smaller scale. It's of course it's more affordable, it's more portable, and it's more adaptable to different situations. But Juan, for you, thinking about the trade-offs of when would you really consider doing a larger hoop house versus something like this? Like, what are the types of considerations that you would have in choosing one versus the other?
Well, I think that's gonna vary depending on each situation. If someone is trying to get to like a market, like farmers market, and they need a bigger area, that's gonna determine if they need like a regular size high tonneau. If they're on the smaller side, like backyard gardeners, or even for some market gardeners, I guess they can use a structure like this, but it will depend on the amount they need to grow. I think one structure like this is very helpful for like a family garden, because as Cruz mentioned, you can grow 32 plants of broccoli. You can plant maybe 4 of each, 4 of cauliflower, 4 of broccoli, and different things, and they could have a great result, protected from pests, the cold, or the extreme heat. So I think in this case, to build one of these, I think it'll be ideal for a small family farm garden, which right now I think is the best time, with the pandemic and all of that, to start thinking about building a structure like this.
Right. That's really smart. And what I like about it too, it's like a 3-for-1 cruise that I know as a backyard gardener, a lot of times, hey, we have the one freeze of the year, or we have 2 freezes a year, or the threat of a freeze. And for backyard gardeners, all of a sudden you freak out. You take out all your old sheets or something, and you try to like awkwardly tape it like over all of your plants and stuff. But if you have something like this built, then you have that solution. But it also has the sort of insect and the shade cloth in there as well for different times of the year and for different uses. It seems that it's got really high utility in that way.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I mean, this system is not unique. I mean, I didn't invent the wheel. I just modified it a little bit. And with over 200 clients through our Beginning Farmer and Rancher program, one of the questions that I get asked all the time is, how do I protect my crops? And half the time when you're going to have a freeze, which you mentioned, it's just for a short period of time. So you have to find the plastic, you have to throw plastic over your plants, you have to find some bricks or dirt or stuff like that to be able to cover this. And the bad part about here, well, I don't want to say the bad part, but the situation that we have down here in the Rio Grande Valley, the freeze only lasts maybe, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And you have to take the cover off. So now you're installing and now you're removing. And a lot of people don't take that cover off. And of course, we've had instances where, it's, 45 degrees at night, and then, 5 hours later, it's 90 degrees. And you have to take that cover off, because otherwise now you start cooking your plants. And with this type of system, you're able to just roll it and unroll it in a very short amount of time and with ease. So, I mean, that's the big plus about it. Of course, again, with the temperatures that we have, sometimes we have the hot sun and those big heats, you're able to cover it up during that period of time. But then again, you're able to uncover it in just, a few seconds. I mean, and that's the advantage of having all the 3-in-1.
Right. It's almost like a Yeti in that way, in that it has the shade cloth, so it can sort of cool it down, so it's not getting as much sun. But it also has the plastic, so it can keep it warm when it needs to be kept warm. I think that's really useful. For all the participants that are still on, so I just launched a poll. Be great if people can just fill out some of the questions that we have on there to your best of your ability. That's it for the questions from the participants. Juan, do you have any other follow-up questions for Cruz on this?
Well, yeah. Before that, excuse me, I wanted to give a shout out to the STRICE program from McAllen ISD. They're watching our presentation right now, and we were able to help them construct not a mini tunnel, but it was a small greenhouse with the help of our beloved friend Albert Ibarra, and they're watching here, trying to learn. It's a great program, and we hope that now this presentation, they can help them to build a mini tunnel and add it to the greenhouse they have. And yeah, I had a question for Cruz before we finish, and it was only about, Cruz, you mentioned the wiggle wire channel came on 10 feet long pieces, and it comes in a straight line. And I'm curious to ask you, because the arches are curved, and you place one on each side, on the front and in the rear arch. How do you measure, you know, the length of that curved arch, and then take it to your straight wiggle wire channel?
The simplest way is just get a piece of string, and get your string, and just I mean, if it's a long length, you can just tape it on one end and just follow the curve with that string. And when you get to the end, just, you know, cut it with your knife or some scissors, and you know, there you have it. If it's a 30-inch piece of string that you're left with, you're gonna cut a 30-inch piece of channel. And of course, your wiggle wire.
That's a great trick. You know, those measuring tapes, they come, they're hard to bend sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
So you always have a trick for things. So that's great.
And that's actually that's a really important part of this, is that so this is a training, right? Hopefully all the attendees that are on here, again, remember the poll, try to fill out the poll. But I'm sure that you're going to go back and maybe want to view this again, just to make sure that you got all the tips from Cruz. This is going to live on our YouTube page, on the UTRGV SATA YouTube page, on our channel. Actually, like and subscribe, as the kids say. But this will live on there. So you can go back, and if you missed anything, you can go back and just try to recall. And if you have specific questions about implementing this, about how to build it, how to you know, where to put it on your property, in your operation, please reach out to Cruz, reach out to Juan. I mean, we are people here. We are in the community, and we're here to actually assist people that are growing. And so Cruz's email was out there before, but it's just your name, right? It's cruz.salinas@utrgv.edu. And same for Juan, it's juan.raigosa@utrgv.edu. You can email me as well, colin.kane@utrgv.edu. I'm not gonna be able to answer your questions on this. If you have co-op questions, business questions, I can help you with that. But on these questions, you're gonna wanna contact Cruz, you're gonna wanna contact Juan. Please go to our Facebook pages. That's a great way to communicate with us as well. It's 11:07. I think that's we've gone through all the questions. Juan, anything else before we close out here?
No. Just thank you, Cruz. You're always bringing a lot of great material, great information. So thank you.
Thank you.
This has been fantastic. Thank you so much, Cruz, and thanks to all the attendees for showing up and sticking around. We have a very loyal audience at this point, and I think that's down to people like Cruz, that's down to people like Juan, and it's down to the attendees that are really hungry for this information. And so, again, we're going to be around. We're going to be putting out more content as the months go on. Again, there's a Texas Hispanic Farmer and Rancher Conference coming in early January, when we're going to be giving presentations there as well. Look out for Cruz, look out for Juan, and that's going to be remote through Zoom webinar as well, I believe. So thanks everyone for showing up, and look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thanks again.